Hey, we'll make a video here really quickly to address something I'm getting a lot of questions about right now, and I'm sure you all know what it is. It's the school shooting in Florida. A lot of people are asking me what my thoughts are on this occurrence as a parent, as a gun rights supporter, etc. And the answer to both is it's horrific. I mean, I think it's horrible. I hate things like this. Sandy Hook broke my heart. It's not a Sandy Hook, I'm not going to say that, but it's kids being killed. And in this case, it's kids, once again, being killed by other kids. And it's really hard to take as an adult and as a parent. And in this case, it's even worse in some ways. And I'm not really going to go into depth right now about what I think, because I'll be doing a podcast tonight at 7. I was going to cancel it, but I'm going to go ahead and do my podcast tonight because I think there's a lot of things that need to be said and a lot of things we want to say just because it's cathartic. So tonight at 7 p.m., go ahead and join me. That's 7 p.m. on the West Coast. That's 4 p.m. That's 10 p.m. on the East Coast. 7 p.m. on the West Coast, 10 p.m. on the East Coast. We'll do my Shooting Left to Center podcast. I'll be there. Gun Website's probably be there. Never Enough Ammo will probably be there. Someone else will be there. I'll go more into depth then about the actual situation. But I wanted to say that this situation is actually kind of worse than a lot of other situations. And it is similar to Sandy Hook in one way, is that there's no one really to hate. And I know hate does no good for anybody. But a lot of people are going to, especially the left, are going to latch onto the fact that this kid was involved in some white nationalist groups. They're going to be like, he's just a white supremacist and we hate white supremacists. Where I don't think hating anybody ever changed anybody's mind, so I don't think that's how to deal with even the hardcore racist. I don't think you're going to change their minds by hating them. You're going to change their minds by educating them and accepting them and including them and telling them you're valuable. It's just your ideas that are disgusting and you can change your ideas. So, especially in this case, this kid was every warning bell you could have. And it irritates me on the news right now. Well, one thing that irritates me is that they're not even telling news right now. They're just selling an agenda. Everyone on CNN is just selling an agenda. MSNBC especially just selling an agenda. They're not even worrying about the kids or what actually happened. They're just taking an opportunity to say everything anti-gun and bring up every ridiculous statistic they can bring up that doesn't hold water to make it look like guns are the root of all evil. You know, they're like, and getting a tear in their eye, like, I'm going to show I have emotional depth and get a daytime Emmy. You know, just report the news. How about it? But like I say, you're watching the news and you're like, everybody's talking about, oh, this is such a close-knit community where we're all close and everyone takes care of everyone. Well, obviously fucking not. And, you know, I'm so sick of hearing people, especially people on the left, talk about how everyone's valuable and everyone's special until that person has a problem of any sort. You know, this kid was adopted. His dad died years ago, and then 5 months ago his adopted mother died. He was left with nobody in the world except his brother, no adult in his life that could help him. And he warned people. He sent out all the signals that he was going to do something drastic because he had no other options. You know, he got in trouble in school for disruptive behavior. What did they do? They kicked him out. Because like I said, you know, these leftists in these neighborhoods and everything, they're all like loving and accepting until you're a problem. And then they just cast you aside. Aren't the Democrats and the people on the left supposed to be the party of taking care of the underdogs and making sure everyone's cared for? But they're the worst at just kicking you out when you upset the status quo. I went through this with my own son in his local school. They kicked this kid out because he was disruptive. They wanted to throw my son out, not because he was violent or disruptive, but because his grades just weren't good enough. When we adopted him, he'd been in foster care for 5 years and he was failing his classes. So when they looked at his records, they're like, he might hurt our bottom line as far as our cumulative GPA and may hurt our test scores. So we would like to bus him over to this poor district where he won't hurt the scores as much. Even though that was the worst thing you could possibly do for him. And he turned out to be a fine student, did great through high school. You know, he took him a couple of years to adjust. Now he's getting straight A's in college. But they were more than happy to just toss him aside because he didn't fit the mold. And I'm so sick of that. Like I was saying, I can't even hate this kid that did this because I think he's in some ways as much a victim as the people that were shot in a different way. His life's over now too. Now he bears the responsibility of his own actions, but this could have been stopped. This could have been prevented easily. It wouldn't have taken a law against a gun or a bullet. It would have just taken compassion It would have just taken someone actually acting on the things they say. It would have taken a school counselor, a teacher, just saying, hey, let's not expel him. Let's get him the help he needs. It would have taken, the government that was warned that he was going to do this, instead of just going, and tossing it aside and not doing everything they could do. Maybe they should have contacted social services, found out his situation, and went, wow, his mother just died. He's got nobody. We need to get an intervention team out there. Maybe that's what we need to do. Instead of passing gun laws, we need to start dealing with people like this by intervening and saying, hey, here's the help you need. Here's a resource for the help you need. I don't mean just go give them a card and say, hey, here's the local shelter and food bank. Go take care of it, which is what they do now. Believe me, I was in social services for quite a while. My degree's in psychology, and that's what they do now. They're like, hey, here's a card for some people you can go beg for stuff from. System's broken. It's not the gun laws that need to be fixed. It's the social system in this country that needs to be fixed. So, and like I said I wasn't going to go too deep into this, but here I'm really, really deep into it already. I said deep into. But if you want to know more, if you want to see more what we're going to talk about, join us tonight, like I said, at 7 p.m. on the West Coast, 10 p.m. on the East Coast. We'll have a roundtable discussion about what's going on, what I think needs to be said, and we'll deal with it in the best way we can. But for now, I think it's just, don't want to try to promote this, and don't want to make it seem like it's a rallying cry to do something pro-gun. Just let people grieve, and let's talk about the things that need to be done. I don't even care about the gun aspect of it. I want to talk about the social aspects. How do we stop things like this from happening? What could have been done for this kid? Because they always love to say this gun law would help, and then they can't show anything that gun law would actually stop. With this kid, we can show all kinds of things that could have been done all along the line that would have created a completely different conclusion. So this is the time to talk about guns. It's the time to talk about how your gun laws are stupid. It's the social issues we need to deal with, and we can actually show results there. So like I said, join us tonight, 7 p.m. on the West Coast, 10 p.m. on the East Coast, on my channel for Shooting Left of Center, and we'll talk more about it then.